This was the blast. The comment that shattered the pristine, curated silence of the tech and design world. It was delivered by Logan, founder of the venture capital firm Kinetic, on the industry's most watched podcast. And it was aimed directly, precisely, and lethally at Robyn, the enigmatic founder and CEO of The Orbit, arguably the most successful and hermetic design house of the last 30 years. This wasn't just a criticism. It was an existential accusation. For decades, Robyn has been portrayed as the ultimate mentor, the perfectionist, the visionary, the benevolent matriarch who plucked brilliant young minds from obscurity and gave them a home. The Orbit wasn't just a place to work. It was a place to belong. It was a family. But Logan's accusation reframed that entire narrative. It recasts family as fiefdom. It recasts belonging as bondage. It paints Robyn not as a mentor, but as a brilliant, charismatic, and ultimately suffocating parasite, feeding on the potential of the very people they claim to be nurturing. Logan's attack is so potent because it weaponizes Robyn's greatest perceived strength, the intense, gravitational loyalty of their team. Where Robyn sees a low turnover rate as proof of a perfect culture, Logan sees it as proof of a gilded cage. Where Robyn sees a unified design language as the pinnacle of brand discipline, Logan sees the death of individual creativity. The central venomous question is this: what is the true purpose of mentorship? Is it to create perfect copies, perfect disciples who can execute the founder's vision flawlessly, forever? Or is it to create leaders who are so strong, so independent, and so confident that they eventually leave and go on to build orbits of their own? Logan's blast suggests that Robyn, either by design or by deep-seated psychological need, has chosen the former. The result? An organization of brilliant, talented, and utterly dependent children, frozen in a state of permanent apprenticeship, all revolving around a single, aging star. Today, we are going to deconstruct that accusation. We will explore the psychology of the Robyn model, the gilded cage of the perfect orbit, and the catastrophic difference between raising a leader and trapping a follower. To understand Logan's accusation, we must first understand the appeal of the Orbit. It is, by all accounts, a paradise. Robyn is a known perfectionist, and that perfectionism extends to the employee experience. The pay is astronomical, far above the industry standard. The benefits are legendary, from on-site childcare to fully paid sabbaticals and in-house chefs. But more than the material perks, Robyn provides psychological safety. In the Orbit, you are protected from the harsh, chaotic, and often arbitrary demands of the open market. You are given limitless time and resources to do your best work. The only thing you are not expected to do is fail in a way that contradicts the core Robyn philosophy. You are given a beautiful, soundproofed, temperature-controlled room, and the door is locked from the outside. This creates the first symptom of the scared-to-leave syndrome, the gilded cage. Life outside the Orbit is, by comparison, terrifying. Why would you leave a place that pays you 50% more than any competitor, where you are respected, where your work is guaranteed to be perfect, to go to a messy, underfunded startup where you might be fired in 6 months? The kids in the Orbit, now in their 30s, 40s, and even 50s, look outside and see a wasteland of compromise, market-driven deadlines, and good-enough products. They're not just scared of leaving Robyn. They are terrified of the compromise that the real world represents. Their standards have been so artificially inflated by Robyn's endless resources and protection that they are no longer compatible with the outside world. This is the first lock on the cage. The deliberate, systematic inflation of standards to the point where any other environment feels like a catastrophic failure. The second symptom is the atrophy of the decision muscle. Inside the Orbit, Robyn is the final and often the only arbiter of what is good. Robyn's taste is law. Over years, this creates an environment where personal initiative is subtly or overtly punished. A protege might present 3 ideas, and Robyn will select the correct one. The protege is praised for eventually arriving at the solution Robyn would have chosen. But what happens after 10 or 15 years of this? The protege's own internal compass, their ability to know what is good, to trust their own gut, to make a high-stakes call and own the consequences, has withered away. They are not unable to make decisions, but they are terrified of making a wrong one. Their entire professional identity is built on a flawless track record, a track record made possible only by Robyn's editorial control. Leaving the orbit doesn't just mean leaving a high salary. It means facing the paralyzing terror of being solely responsible for your own choices, with no safety net, for the very first time in your adult life. Now, it would be easy to paint Robyn as a monster, a narcissistic despot. And that's certainly the picture Logan wants to paint. But that would be lazy, and it would be false. The truth is that Robyn's orbit works. It produces, without exception, the most acclaimed, refined, and influential work in its field. Robyn's defense, which they have never had to articulate, because the work speaks for itself, is simple. Excellence requires control. In this view, Logan is a barbarian, a proponent of the move fast and break things ethos that results in a world cluttered with ugly, broken, and thoughtless trash. Robyn is the opposite. Robyn is the last bastion of true craftsmanship in a disposable world. The Robyn standard is not a prison. It is a privilege. It is the long apprenticeship model of the old world masters. You don't just join the orbit, you commit to it. From Robyn's perspective, the protégés aren't ready to leave. They are still learning. The kids who are 45 years old are, in Robyn's eyes, still mastering the subtleties of the craft. To leave would be to graduate early, to present an unfinished, inferior version of their work to the world, and in doing so, to stain the very legacy that nurtured them. This model is built on the values of loyalty, patience, and the pursuit of a singular, perfect ideal. Robyn isn't creating a prison. They are curating a monastery. The people inside aren't prisoners. They are devotees, dedicated to a higher purpose. In this framework, Logan's blast is not a truth bomb. It's the ignorant jeering of a short-term thinking mercenary who mistakes commitment for cowardice and loyalty for a lack of imagination. Robyn's kids haven't left, not because they are scared, but because they believe, genuinely and fully, that there is nowhere better to be. They are protecting the flame, and Robyn is the one who built the fire. This brings us to the core of the conflict. It's not about which model is more successful. By any financial or critical metric, both the orbit, Robyn, and kinetic, Logan, are massive successes. The conflict is about the byproduct of that success. It's the fundamental, philosophical difference between creating leaders and creating disciples. A leader builder, the Logan ideal, operates on a push model. They find talent, they challenge it, they break it down and build it back up, and then, crucially, they push it out. The success of this mentor is measured by the independent success of their protégés. Their goal is to make themselves obsolete. They want their kids to leave, to found their own companies, to become their peers or even their rivals. This model creates a legacy that is wide, chaotic, and self-perpetuating. It's a launch pad. The Robyn model, as Logan describes it, is a pull model. It is gravitational. It finds talent and pulls it in. It protects it, refines it, and uses it to make the center stronger. The success of this mentor is measured by the loyalty and conformity of their team. Their goal is to become indispensable. The kids are not pushed out. They are given more and more responsibility within the system. They become high-powered, brilliantly effective managers. They are the world's most skilled technicians, the most flawless executors of a vision that is not their own. But they are not, in the true sense of the word, leaders. A leader must be able to create a vision from scratch. The kids in the orbit have only ever been tasked with perfecting a vision that was handed to them. This creates a legacy that is deep, narrow, and incredibly fragile. It is a tower, not a garden. And it has a single point of failure, Robyn. The launchpad model is defined by creative conflict and departure. The protégés of a Logan are expected to challenge the master. They are expected to have a breakup, a moment where they say, "You're wrong," and go build their own thing to prove it. The PayPal Mafia is a classic example. Its alumni didn't stay to become VPs for life at PayPal. They left. They founded YouTube, LinkedIn, Tesla, SpaceX, and Yelp. Their loyalty was not to the company. It was to the ethos of building new things. Now, compare that to the orbit model. This is Logan's evidence. Where are the Robyn alumni? They don't exist. There is no diaspora of orbit talent seeding the rest of the industry with new ideas. There is only the orbit itself, a walled garden growing more beautiful and more isolated every year. The kids are now 50-year-old VPs, overseeing departments, but they still have to get Robyn's final sign-off on the font of a new product. They are, in effect, the world's most well-paid and comfortable kids, still living in their parents' basement, even if that basement is a multi-billion-dollar architectural marvel. They have traded their potential for independence for a lifetime of comfortable, predictable, and managed excellence. But why? Why would Robyn, a certified genius, build such a fragile system? Is it a conscious, cynical strategy, or is it a deep, unconscious, psychological flaw? It's almost certainly the latter. This is the behavior of the benevolent despot, a leader driven by a complex mix of genuine care and crippling narcissistic need. The first driver is a pathological perfectionism. Robyn genuinely believes that their way is the only way. A product that is 99% Robyn is, in their eyes, a catastrophic failure. This perfectionism makes it impossible to delegate true authority. They can't let a kid make a final call, because that kid might make a choice that is different, and different is a synonym for wrong. It's not that they don't trust their team, it's that they don't trust anyone as much as they trust themselves. The second and more troubling driver is a fear of obsolescence and irrelevance. A leader like Robyn, whose entire identity is fused with their creation, is terrified by one thing: the idea that the orbit could function perfectly well without them. To raise a true leader, a kid who could actually replace them, would be to accelerate their own demise. So, they unconsciously sabotage the independence of their protégés. They create a system of codependency where they are the central hub. Every decision must flow through them. Every success must be shared with them. This ensures that they are, and will forever be, indispensable. The protégé's success is not a threat to Robyn, as long as that success happens under Robyn. An independent kid is a traitor. A kid who leaves and succeeds on their own is not just an ex-employee. They are a public invalidation of Robyn's central belief: you need me to be excellent. Robyn, that's a very interesting darling. Very bold. But it doesn't feel like us, does it? It's lost the why. Let's pull it back. Let's look at the core principles we established in '09. Host VO, and that is how it's done. It's not a shout. It's not a no. It's a gentle, loving, and utterly devastating recentering. The kid is subtly punished for their independence. Their bold idea is reframed as a naive mistake. They are praised when they return to the fold. Now you've got it. That is orbit-level work. The lesson is taught, and the walls of the orbit grow 1 inch thicker. Do this 1,000 times over 20 years, and you have an army of brilliant, obedient ghosts. As to what happens now. Logan's blast wasn't just an interview. It was a mirror. It was the first time in decades that anyone has publicly held up a mirror to the kids in the orbit and said, "You are not leaders. You are cowards." This creates a crisis of identity. The kids have 2 choices. The first and most likely path is the Stockholm Syndrome defense. They will rush, publicly, to Robyn's defense. They will write articles and give interviews of their own, attacking Logan. They'll call Logan a vulture, a mercenary who doesn't understand craft, a jealous outsider. They will double down on their loyalty, because the alternative, that Logan is right, is too terrifying to contemplate. To admit Logan is right would be to admit that they have wasted the last 20 years of their lives, that they have traded their potential for a comfortable prison. Their entire identity is at stake, but the second path is the broken bird exit. The seed of doubt has been planted. One of them, the best and brightest of the kids, will now try to leave. And this is the real test. This is where we find out if Robyn is a mentor or a captor. If Robyn is a true mentor, they will bless the protégé. They will say, "You are ready. Go." Show them all. And call me if you need anything. This would be the ultimate vindication for Robyn, and the ultimate refutation of Logan's blast. But if Logan is right, Robyn will do the opposite. They will react not with pride, but with betrayal. They will be cold. They will remind the protégé of all the orbit has done for them. They will imply that the protégé is ungrateful. And when the protégé leaves anyway, Robyn will quietly and systematically crush them. They will badmouth them to suppliers. They will launch a competing product. They will use their immense industry power to ensure the trader's new venture fails, as a warning to all the other kids back in the orbit. See? I told you. You cannot survive without me. The conflict between Logan and Robyn is not, in the end, about two business titans. It is about all of us. It is a fundamental question about our own lives, our own careers, our own families. We are all at some point Robyn. And we are all at some point one of the kids. In our jobs, are we building systems that empower our colleagues to leave and do great things? Or are we, in our own insecurity, making ourselves indispensable? Are we hoarding information and control to protect our own positions, creating a mini-orbit around our own desks? Are we the Robyn who helps a junior colleague by just fixing their work, teaching them nothing except that we are the ones with the answers? And if we are one of the kids, are we in a gilded cage of our own making? Are we staying in a job, a relationship, or a situation, not because it's helping us grow, but because it's comfortable? Are we mistaking safety for success? Are we sacrificing our potential for protection? It's easy to judge the kids in the orbit for being too scared to leave. But the truth is, the most effective prisons are the ones we build for ourselves, the ones that are so comfortable we forget they are prisons at all. Logan's blast is a service, not just to Robyn, but to all of us. It forces us to ask the most important question a leader, a parent, or a person can ask. Are we building a legacy of control or a legacy of release? Are we building an orbit or are we building a launch pad? For 2 seasons, the story of Kody Brown and David Woolley has been a fairy tale. It has been a narrative of pure, unadulterated wish fulfillment. After 25 years of being the basement wife, of being emotionally sidelined, invalidated, and finally, discarded by her husband Kody Brown, Kody found her king. David Woolley entered the Sister Wives universe not just as a new character, but as a narrative deus ex machina, a walking, talking happy ending. Their relationship has been defined by a relentless, almost aggressive positivity. The constant public affection, the soulmate declarations, the sheer, blinding joy. It was so perfect that it felt unreal. And for the critics, the cynics, and even the concerned fans, one question lingered in the air like a storm cloud. When is the other shoe going to drop? When does the honeymoon end? And when does the real relationship begin? Well, in the latest episode, that shoe didn't just drop. It thudded onto the floor. For the first time, the cameras captured the crack in the facade, Kody and David's first major, heated disagreement. And while the clickbait headlines are already churning out trouble in paradise, they are missing the entire point. This emotional sticking point wasn't a red flag. It was, in fact, the single most important and healthiest green flag their relationship has produced. Because this fight wasn't just a fight, it was the final exorcism of the Brown family's emotional ghosts. So, what was the fight that finally broke the magic spell? Was it about money? Was it about their future? Was it about Kody? No. On the surface, it was about something that sounds almost trivial, movie quotes. The sticking point was a disagreement over how Kody's son, MELTDOWN, communicates his deepest feelings. As Kody explained, when she has a deep, emotional discussion with MELTDOWN, he often has to bring up a movie quote to represent him. For Kody, this is just a neutral observation. She's in her old mama's translator mode, explaining the emotional dialect of one of her children. She's simply presenting the how of MELTDOWN. But David, the man who has thus far been the physical embodiment of go with the flow, does not go with the flow. He sticks. He confronts it. He says, no, you need to come from your heart so that way it's meaningful. And in that single sentence, the fairy tale collides with the reality of trauma. We have to deconstruct what is actually happening in this moment, because it is not about the Avengers or Star Wars. For Christine, and for MELTDOwn, this communication style, using a movie quote, is an emotional armoring technique. This is a learned survival skill from decades of living in the Brown family. In that family, especially in the later years, raw, direct, vulnerable emotion was not only not rewarded, it was often punished. Think about it. Every time Christine, Janelle, or Mary expressed a direct emotional need to Kody, they were met with deflection, gaslighting, anger, or a monologue about his own victimhood. The children saw this. They learned that saying, "Dad, you hurt my feelings," results in a lecture. So what do? You develop a coded language. You use a proxy. You use a movie quote as a shield to express a feeling without having to actually own the vulnerability of that feeling. MELTDOwn isn't being disingenuous. He's being safe, using a script that has been perfected over a lifetime of emotional risk. And Christine, as the mother, has learned to accept this. She's not just his mom, she's his interpreter. But David isn't fluent in that trauma language. David's reaction is the real story here. He doesn't just disagree, he gets viscerally upset. And he immediately escalates the why of his frustration. He connects MELTDOwn's indirectness to the most toxic element of Christine's past. He says he's been around hundreds of plural marriages, and he's seen how the men in that culture control women. He says, "If you're not obeying me, I'm punish you and I'm going to go to the other one." And that's what polygamy does, is control women. And it's not a right thing to do. This is the key. This is the Rosetta Stone for the entire conflict. David is not having a fight with Christine about MELTDOwn. David is having a fight with the ghost of Kody Brown. He doesn't just hear a movie quote. He hears the symptom of the disease he despises. He hears the emotional control, the punishment, the stifling that defines the very system that brutalized his wife for 25 years. In David's mind, his home, this new life, is supposed to be the anti-Kody zone. It's the safe house. It's the one place on earth where a Brown family member does not need emotional armor. So when he sees Christine's son still using that armor, and more importantly, when he sees Christine explaining it away and normalizing it, it feels like a betrayal of their new world. It feels like the poison from the old life is leaking under the door of their new one. His frustration isn't, "Why is your son quoting movies?" His frustration is, "Why are we still accepting the coping mechanisms that Kody created? Why are we letting him win? Why are you still managing this? In this house, we come from the heart. Period." This is not a man picking a fight. This is a man passionately, if imperfectly, defending the new, safe emotional territory he is trying to build. He's not just telling Christine to stop defending MELTDOwn. He's telling her, "You don't have to be Kody's emotional translator anymore. You are safe." And now, for the most staggering piece of editing in Sister Wives history, as if sent from the reality TV gods, the show immediately cuts from this raw, complex, and meaningful disagreement about emotional honesty to Kody and Robyn Brown taking awkward dance lessons. The contrast is so profound it's almost satirical. While Christine and David are engaging in a healthy rupture, a difficult, painful, but necessary conversation about trauma, communication, and family, Kody and Robyn are engaging in a performative gesture of fun. Robyn admits she hates dancing with Kody, describing his moves as him dancing around her like she is the pole. Kody, meanwhile, goes on a typically bizarre confessional tangent about being a wild man who can be tamed now that he is a monogamist. The entire sequence is a monument to their disconnect. Their fun is stilted, forced, and all about Kody's self-perception. This B-plot is not filler. It is the thesis. It is the control that David was just talking about, personified. Kody's pump dance is the perfect metaphor for his entire emotional range. It's all for show, it's self-centered, and it leaves his partner as a stationary object to be danced at. This is the relationship Christine left. A world of performative, awkward, one-sided connection. And it stands in the starkest possible opposition to what we just saw with David, which was two people who are so connected that they are willing to have a hard, ugly, real fight to protect that very connection. Kody and Robyn are trying to manufacture fun in a sterile studio. Christine and David are manufacturing trust in the middle of a raw, messy argument. And the episode doesn't stop there. It then cuts to Janelle, who reveals her daughter Maddie is pregnant again and Kody doesn't even know. And it cuts to Mary, packing up her wedding dress, which is only sentimental because of her grandmother, not Kody. The entire Brown family is in a state of terminal emotional collapse, all while Kody is practicing his pump dance. But here's why this sticking point is the ultimate green flag. It's not the rupture that matters. It's the repair. In psychology, the #1 indicator of a secure, long-lasting relationship is not the absence of conflict. It's the presence of a healthy rupture and repair cycle. It's the ability to have a fight, to hurt each other, and then to come back together, reaffirm the connection, and be stronger for it. The episode ends with Christine and David hugging it out. Christine says, "I'm glad that we disagree sometimes," and David, in that one perfect word, replies, "I loved it." He loved it. Think about that. Compare that to 25 years with Kody Brown. A fight with Kody was a dead end. It was a rupture and rupture. It was a rupture and blame shift. It was a rupture and a week of silent treatment. It was a rupture and a declaration that he was done. There was never repair. There was only emotional scar tissue. David loved the fight, not because he loves conflict, but because he loves the honesty that the conflict produced. He loves that they are in a relationship where they can have this fight and the world doesn't end. He's proving to Christine in real time, you can disagree with me. You can be upset. I can be upset. And I will not leave. I will not withdraw intimacy. I will not punish you. This fight was the first real-world test of their soulmate connection, and they passed. They proved that their foundation is not made of cotton candy and Instagram posts. It's made of something that can actually withstand a tremor. Christine has never had this. The idea that you can have a heated disagreement and end it by feeling closer to your partner is a completely foreign concept from her first marriage. This sticking point was the most profoundly healing experience we have seen her have, because it wasn't about finding a man who agrees with her. It was about finding a man who is not afraid of her when she disagrees. For so long, we have watched Christine Brown navigate a world where she had to be the cool wife, the fun wife, the peacemaker. She had to manage her husband's moods, his ego, and the complex emotional needs of his other wives. She became a master translator of dysfunction. Her sticking point with David was the first time she was confronted by a partner who refuses to accept dysfunction as a baseline. David isn't just offering her love. He is demanding her health. He is challenging her, and by extension her children, to shed the armor they've been wearing for decades. It's a painful, difficult, and messy process. And it is the realest act of love we have seen in this entire franchise. There are moments in the long, sprawling 18-season and counting documentary of the Brown family's collapse that serve as definitive endings. We saw the emotional exit. That was Christine's declaration of freedom. We saw the spiritual exit. That was Mary's final, quiet surrender. But the Sister Wives saga has always had a third, and perhaps most critical emotional pillar, Janelle. Janelle, the pragmatist. Janelle, the boy mom. Janelle, the one who wasn't here for the romance but for the big picture, the grand multi-generational family, the empire of children and grandchildren, the Brown family as a concept. Her breaking point was never going to be about a lack of kisses or a fight over a house. It was going to be about the children. And in the latest episode, we finally saw that pillar crack, not with a bang, but with a devastating, quiet, emotional admission. When asked about the most basic, fundamental relationship in a family, that of a father and his daughter, Janelle Brown broke down. And in doing so, she delivered the final and most profound epitaph for Kody Brown's patriarchy. They haven't spoken. In any other family, this would be a tragedy. In the Brown family, it is a thesis statement. It is the summary of the entire series-long conflict. But the true gut-wrenching horror of Janelle's statement is not just the "they haven't spoken." It's the context. It's the Maddie doesn't really even tell him that she's pregnant. This is not a spat. This is not a cooling-off period. This is a fundamental severance of a generational line. The creation of new life, the birth of a grandchild, is the single most important event in a patriarchal family. It is the entire point of Kody Brown's multiply and replenish worldview. And he is not just not involved. He is not even informed. He has been rendered so irrelevant, so completely excised from the family structure he claims to lead, that his own daughter is going through the profound life event of pregnancy, and he is, for all intents and purposes, a stranger. Janelle's tears are not just for her daughter. They are for the catastrophic, irreversible failure of the entire big picture she sacrificed her life to build. We must understand who Maddie Brown is in this family's lore. She is not just any child. Maddie was, for a very long time, the golden child of the plural marriage experiment. She was the model. She was the first child of the second wife, a perfect blend of Janelle's pragmatism and Kody's fire. More importantly, she was the first to fully embrace the big family ideal to get married, and to provide Kody with his first grandchildren, Axel and Evie. Her wedding to Caleb Brush was not a small, quiet affair. It was the last great, unified, happy event the Brown family ever had. It was the subject of an entire multi-episode arc Kody officiated. Kody wept. Kody gave a speech about giving away his daughter, a peak patriarch moment he had clearly dreamed of his entire life. Maddie and Caleb were the proof of concept that this crazy, chaotic family could produce well-adjusted, loving, successful adults. For Kody to be estranged from Maddie, it is not the same as his estrangement from Gabe or Garrison. He views them as disloyal sons, as rivals. His estrangement from Maddie is something far worse. It is a failure, in his own eyes, of his success. It is the crumbling of his own monument. This estrangement did not happen in a vacuum. Kody did not just lose Maddie. He waged a war, and Maddie was the inevitable, tragic collateral damage. The root of this, as we all know, is Kody's apocalyptic feud with Janelle's sons, Gabe and Garrison. This was the loyalty test that broke the family. When the COVID-19 pandemic hit, Kody's long-dormant authoritarianism metastasized. He created a set of rules, not for health, but for fealty. It was a test, designed for one purpose, to see who was loyal to him and by extension Robyn, and who was not. And Janelle's sons, two adult men who had their own lives, jobs, and social circles, were deemed disloyal. They refused to stop living their lives in order to have the privilege of seeing their father. Kody's demand was simple: complete obedience or excommunication. And he applied this test not just to his sons, but to his wife. The show's most critical scene, the one that set all of this in motion, was Kody telling Janelle that she had to kick her own sons out of her house. He demanded that she, their mother, choose him, her part-time husband, over her full-time children. And Janelle, in her most defining moment of the entire series, refused. She drew a line in the sand and said, "I have to choose between my husband and my sons. And I'm choosing my sons." From that moment, the war was declared. In Kody's binary, black and white world, there is no nuance. There is only loyalty or betrayal. Janelle chose her sons. Therefore, Janelle was a traitor. Gabe and Garrison were traitors. And by extension, Maddie, who naturally, fiercely, and correctly sided with her mother and her brothers, was also a traitor. Kody's logic is that simple and that brutal. He cannot comprehend that he is the one who abandoned his children. In his mind, they abandoned him by refusing to respect his authority. So when Janelle says they haven't spoken in 2 or 3 years, she is giving us the timeline. That timeline maps perfectly to the COVID-19 feud. Maddie's estrangement is an act of solidarity. It is her, as the oldest sister, standing in protection of her mother and her brothers. It is a quiet, dignified fuck you to a father who demanded his children bow before him or be cast out. Kody, in his narcissistic rage, believes he is punishing them with his silence. He believes he is the prize, and he is withholding his magnificent presence until they apologize and bend the knee. But Janelle's tears reveal the truth. Kody is not the prize. Life is the prize. Grandchildren are the prize. Family connection is the prize. And he is the one who has been locked outside, peering through the window at a happy, growing family that has simply and surgically removed him. Maddie's silence is not a punishment she is inflicting. It is a boundary she is enforcing. And that boundary is, you do not get to have this, my children, my life, while you are actively destroying them, my mother, my brothers. This brings us to the profound, almost Shakespearean tragedy of Kody Brown. His entire life's mission, the why that justified all the chaos and financial ruin, was the legacy. The big family. He would sit on his metaphorical throne at Coyote Pass, the patriarch of a sprawling compound, with his 4 loyal wives and his 18 adoring children and his 50 grandchildren. That was the big picture Janelle bought into. But in the latest episode, we see the pathetic, jarring reality of his win. While Janelle is weeping over the real, tangible loss of her family's fabric, the show cuts to Kody and Robyn. What are they doing? They are taking awkward dance lessons. It is a scene so dripping with pathetic irony. It feels scripted. It's the ultimate Nero fiddling while Rome burns. Kody has won his power struggle. He has his one loyal wife. He has his one obedient household. He has, as he demanded, monogamy. And the price for this win was everything. The throne is empty. The empire has collapsed. And the family that Kody abandoned has simply regrouped. The true Brown family, the one with life and laughter and connection, is now centered around Christine and Janelle. It is their children and their grandchildren who gather for holidays. It is their homes that are the hub. Kody has been rendered a non-entity. And the pregnancy is the most powerful symbol of this. A new branch is growing on the family tree, and it is growing on the side of the tree that Kody sawed off. He is not a patriarch. A patriarch is, at his core, a father and a grandfather. He is a provider of connection, love, and wisdom. Kody has failed on all 3 counts. He has become what he always feared, an irrelevant old man, ranting in a confessional chair about disrespect, while the world he claimed to have built moves on, creates new life, and thrives without him. Janelle's tears are the tears of a pragmatist who can no longer be pragmatic. You cannot logic your way out of this kind of grief. You cannot business plan a new relationship between a father and a daughter. This is not a budget that can be fixed. This is the emotional, human-level bankruptcy of the entire system. For years, Janelle was the fixer. She was the one who smoothed things over, who saw the long game, who believed that the structure of the family was more important than the feelings of the day. And this is her moment of realizing that the structure is gone. The foundation has rotted away. And the long game she was playing? She lost. Or more accurately, the game was rigged from the start by a partner who was never playing for the family, but only ever for himself. The show is not subtle about this. The editors are twisting the knife, and they are doing it with intention. While Kody is not even aware of his new grandchild, who is being positioned as the doting, present, and safe grandfather figure to the existing grandchildren. David Woolley. We are shown, repeatedly, scenes of David holding Axel. David playing with Evie. We are shown Christine's daughters marveling at how good he is with the children, how natural it is. This is not an accident. This is a deliberate, editorially crafted narrative. David, the outsider, has seamlessly stepped into the role that Kody, the patriarch, abandoned. He is reaping all the rewards of grandfatherhood. The love, the joy, the connection, without any of the narcissistic baggage. He is simply present. He is simply kind. And in doing so, he is providing the starkest possible contrast to Kody's leadership. This, perhaps, is what fuels Janelle's tears as much as anything. She is watching, in real time, another man effortlessly provide the love and stability for her grandchildren that their own grandfather refuses to. She is seeing how easy it could be. It doesn't require respect. It doesn't require loyalty oaths. It doesn't require bending the knee. It just requires showing up. And Kody Brown, for all his bluster, has proven time and time again that he is fundamentally incapable of showing up for anyone but himself and the one wife who mirrors his own sense of victimhood. The silence between Kody and Maddie is the loudest, most damning sound in the entire Sister Wives universe. It is the sound of an entire family tree falling in the forest, and the man who planted it isn't even there to hear it. They haven't spoken. With those 3 words, Janelle Brown didn't just give a sad update. She closed a book. She wrote the final chapter of the Brown family patriarchy. The story of Sister Wives is no longer about a man and his 4 wives. It is, and has been for several seasons, the story of his ex-wives and their children, healing from the trauma he inflicted and building a new, better, and real family from the ashes of his failed experiment. The big picture Janelle always wanted? She is, in fact, getting it. It just looks different than she thought. It's a big picture built on mutual respect, shared values, and authentic love. It's her and Christine as sister friends. It's her children and Christine's children as a unified sibling group. It's her grandchildren, growing up surrounded by aunts and a grandmother who are present. The only thing missing from this big picture is Kody. And as Janelle's tears make devastatingly clear, that is not a loss anymore. It is a tragedy. A tragedy he authored, he directed, and he now stars in, all by himself in an empty house, wondering why the phone never rings. For 18 seasons, that was the premise. That was the mission statement. The entire thesis of Sister Wives was not just to document a family, but to justify a lifestyle. It was a multi-decade-long public relations campaign, designed to prove to the world that plural marriage was not the dark, oppressive system its critics claimed it to be, but a viable, loving, and functional alternative. The Brown family, led by their charismatic, whirlwind patriarch Kody, was supposed to be the proof of concept. They were the modern face of polygamy. And now, after 25 years of marriage, 18 seasons of television, 3 divorces, 18 children, and 1 devastating, incomprehensible tragedy, the leader of that movement has, in his own words, admitted it was a failure. This admission is not just another plot point in a reality show. It is the death of the show's entire premise. It is the eulogy for the very family we were told was the ideal. This is the story of that admission, the anatomy of the fractures that caused it, and the catastrophic, irreversible human cost of a 30-year-old lie. The confession did not come in a moment of righteous anger or during a tell-all interrogation. It came, almost poetically, in the quietest, most mundane of settings. As Kody and Robyn revealed in a recent episode, they have been receiving letters. Letters from women who, even now, want to join their family to become Kody's 5th wife. The irony is staggering. Just as Kody has finally achieved the functional monogamy he so clearly craved, the specter of the principle he claimed to live by comes knocking. And it is this hypothetical new wife that finally breaks the dam of his decades-long denial. His reaction is not excitement. It is not even contemplation. It is pure, unadulterated dread. He says, no. Because how you do anything is how you do everything. And we'll mess that one up too. This is the moment the bravado dies. This is Kody Brown, the leader, the patriarch, the man who believed he was destined for his own planet, finally admitting that he didn't have the skill set for the one job he claimed as his divine calling. This confession is a complex, multi-layered admission. On the surface, it is Kody taking responsibility. He uses the language of a fallen CEO. I was the leader. I need to own the failure. This is a new look for him, a departure from the knife in the kidneys rhetoric where he was the perpetual victim of his wives' and children's disloyalty. But beneath that surface layer of accountability is a deeper, more profound, and far more selfish admission. He doesn't just admit that he failed plural marriage. He admits that he knows why. He confesses that his failure was, in fact, a choice. His quote, "I fell in love hard," is the entire story. He is admitting that when he met and fell in love with Robyn, the entire system became impossible, because whenever there are two entities, one will naturally outshine the other. For the first time, he gives voice to the lie that Christine, Janelle, and Mary lived for over a decade. He says, "I wanted to love them equally. I really tried to. I even pretended to." That one word, pretended, is the gunshot that echoes back through every season. It confirms every suspicion, validates every tear from Christine, and explains every moment of coldness to Mary and every dismissal of Janelle. The failure wasn't an event. It was a deception that lasted for 12 years. A family is not a business. And the failure Kody is admitting to is not a failed merger. The cost of this failure is not measured in dollars or property, but in human connection and ultimately in human life. The deepest, most catastrophic, and most irreversible fracture in the Brown family is not between Kody and his wives. It is between Kody and his children. In a separate, equally devastating admission, Kody confessed, "I should have had a stronger relationship with my children. My failures were because I didn't know about being a good dad and husband, and I thought I did." This is, without question, the central tragedy of the entire saga. The entire point of the big family, the justification for the chaos and the sacrifice, was the legacy, the children. And Kody's failure as a leader is most evident in his complete and total estrangement from the very children he claimed to be building it for. This fracture was not a mutual growing apart. It was a deliberate, ideological severing. When the COVID-19 pandemic provided Kody with a righteous excuse to demand total, unquestioning obedience, he presented his family with a loyalty test. And when his sons, particularly Gabe and Garrison, chose their mother, their education, and their own lives over his rigid, arbitrary, and hypocritical rules, he labeled them disloyal and man-children and effectively excommunicated them. This wasn't a failure to connect. It was an active campaign of emotional abandonment. We watched him forget his son's birthday. We watched him demand his wife kick her own sons out of their home. We watched him scream about respect while offering none. And this estrangement had the most devastating consequence imaginable. The death of Garrison Brown by suicide in March 2024 is the final, unspeakable full stop on this family's story. It recontextualizes every fight, every petty grievance, every cry for loyalty as a grotesque tragedy. Kody's admission that he failed as a father is not a moment of healing. It is a confession made in the shadow of an irreversible, soul-crushing loss. The fracture is not something that can be repaired. It is a permanent, gaping wound. And it's not just his sons. Kody remains almost completely estranged from nearly all of his 13 children from his first 3 wives. His daughter Maddie, who once gave him his first grandchildren and was the proof of concept of a successful plural child, has been publicly estranged for years. His daughter Gwendolyn has used her own platform to deconstruct the family's dysfunction. His child Leon has been kept at a distance, their own identity and life transitions largely ignored by their father. The only children Kody maintains a parental relationship with, by his own admission, are the 5 he shares with Robyn. His failure was a choice. He consolidated his assets, his time, and his leadership into one house, one wife, and one set of children, and he left the others to fend for themselves. His admission of failure is a decade too late for the children who grew up wondering why their father stopped coming around, and why he only seemed to exist on their television screen. Kody's grand admission of failure is something his wives have known and lived for over a decade. Their departures were not the cause of the failure. They were the symptoms. They were the dominoes falling, one by one, after the foundation had already rotted away. The first to fall, and the one that shattered the family's public facade, was Christine. Her leaving was the emotional fracture. She was the wife who believed in the romance of the principle. She was the peacemaker who did all the emotional labor, who raised 13 children, not just her own 6, and who believed in the big family more than anyone. Her breaking point was Kody's refusal to be present for their daughter Isabel's life-altering spinal surgery. It was the ultimate, undeniable proof that he had chosen his one entity, Robyn, over his own child's suffering. Her leaving was not an abandonment. It was a desperate act of self-preservation. She was the first to publicly call out Kody's admission that he pretended. She left because she could no longer participate in the charade. The second, and perhaps most strategically devastating, domino was Janelle. If Christine was the heart of the family, Janelle was the brain. She was the pragmatist, the buddy, the business partner. She didn't sign up for the romance. She signed up for the big picture, the financial freedom, the family business model. Her departure was the logical fracture. She watched as Kody pooled all the family's resources into Robyn's mansion, while she and her children were left in a tiny apartment, and later, a trailer on the empty, promise-less land of Coyote Pass. Her breaking point was Kody's loyalty test during COVID. When Kody demanded she choose between him and her children, she chose her children. It was a simple, logical calculation. He was demanding 100% of her loyalty in exchange for 10% of his time and 0% of his support. Janelle's exit proved that the family as a functioning, financial, or logical entity was also a failure. She was the CFO of a corporation whose CEO had embezzled all the funds and given them to one preferred board member. The final domino, Mary, was the one that had, in truth, already fallen years ago. Her departure was the spiritual fracture. Mary was the first wife, the original, the one who brought Kody into this world. Their relationship had been dead for the better part of a decade, a casualty of the catfishing scandal and Kody's subsequent, permanent emotional withdrawal. But her staying was symbolic. She was clinging to the idea of the eternal, spiritual covenant. Her final quiet leaving was just a formality, an admission that the ghost that had been haunting the family living room had finally decided to move on. Her exit was the proof that the religious justification for the family was also a failure. With 3 wives gone, Kody was not just a failed polygamist. He was, by the rules of his own fundamentalist faith, a failed patriarch, one who would not be receiving his celestial kingdom. And so, after all the battles, all the loyalty tests, and all the sacrifices, Kody Brown has won. He has what he's so clearly always wanted: functional monogamy. He has the one wife who he fell in love with hard, the one wife who demands his presence, and the one set of obedient children who see him as the undisputed leader. He is the king of his castle. But this is a Pyrrhic victory, because he is the king of a tiny, isolated kingdom, built on the ashes of the empire he burned down. The final, and perhaps most profound, fracture is the one we are watching in real time, the one between Kody and Robyn. His admission of failure is a direct, public invalidation of her entire life. Robyn is the only one left who is still trying to sell the ideal of plural marriage. While Kody is saying, "I would never do this again," and that polygamy kills intimacy, Robyn is in a state of profound cognitive dissonance. In that same confessional, as Kody admits his failure, Robyn mourns the dream. She describes the idea of plural marriage, a community of women, a circle of love, a table at which the women supported one another, with a longing that is now completely untethered from reality. She admits she never pictured herself as a monogamist, and that the family falling apart has been so traumatic. She is, in effect, in mourning for the sister wives she claims she always wanted, but who she was simultaneously, and systematically, outshining. Kody and Robyn are not on the same page. He is a man relieved, if bitter, to be unintentionally monogamous, admitting, "It's you and me, baby." She is a woman who is now trapped in the one thing she claimed she never wanted, a monogamous marriage. She got the man, but she lost the community that was supposed to validate her. The winners of this war are not even in agreement on what they won. He is admitting failure. She is mourning the loss of a success that never, ever existed. "I failed." Kody Brown's admission is the eulogy for sister wives. It is the moment the leader of the movement finally admits what the audience, and what his family, has known for more than a decade. The entire thing was a lie. He pretended. The happy unified family from season 1 was either a distant memory or a carefully constructed fiction. The failure did not happen when Christine left. The failure was present when he courted Robyn while Christine was pregnant. The failure was present when he refused to help Janelle with her children. The failure was present when he emotionally abandoned Mary after she provided him with his only legal heir. The fractures we see now are not new. They are the cracks that were always there, which Kody, Robyn, and the principal simply papered over for the cameras. Now, the wallpaper is gone, and all that is left is the rotten, fractured foundation. The great irony is that Kody's failure has been the catalyst for his family's success. In failing them, he freed them. Christine is in a loving, functional, and present marriage for the first time in her life. Janelle is an independent, empowered grandmother, living her life on her own terms, surrounded by the children who are her true big picture. Mary is traveling the world, running her businesses, and discovering an identity completely separate from the man who dismissed her for 30 years. They are no longer sister wives. They are simply women. The family Kody failed did not, in the end, fracture. It dissolved, and its component parts were formed into healthier, stronger, and more honest shapes. Kody's admission is not a revelation. It is a punctuation mark. It is the full stop at the end of a long, painful, and tragic sentence. The lie is dead. And for everyone, except perhaps the two people left in that mansion, that is a victory.